So I had a conversation with somebody in my clan about PKing and why there is nothing relating to PKing that gets past the poll. And the character limits of the clan chat really limited the discussion, but I've been thinking about it and I came to a few conclusions as to I think what's happening, and this is from the perspective of a PVMer who does not have any interest in learning PvP. Even if I learned PvP, I probably still wouldn't do it. This is the I vote no on every poll for PK stuff side of the discussion. And the first thing that comes to my mind is that mechanically, the wilderness severely advantages the attacker. Whether that be the fact that they make a pure account so they have a statistical advantage over you, a scout so they know whether or not they can take you before they start the fight, supplies advantage because you're on your 5th kill and they've wasted no supplies yet, or multi-combat where, you just can't win 2v, whatever. There's a myriad of things that are presented to the attacker as advantages, to the degree that if you go into the wilderness and pick a fight and lose, it's on you. You're bad, right? Getting jumped and dying, you probably were destined to die anyway. Maybe you could have tank tested a little bit better as you were fleeing for your life. But if you attack somebody and they beat you, it means that you made a mistake. You didn't prepare well enough. You didn't plan well enough. Something went wrong in your strategy, and it is entirely your fault. Unless the RNG gods frowned upon you and gave your opponent nothing but max hit splats for the entire fight, you made a mistake. And you can find a myriad of videos of way better geared people killing dudes in black D-hide in the wilderness, and then, having their ult come up and start kicking them so that they can't be re-engaged while they loot. And that person is not risking. He's not in a high-risk, high-reward scenario. There's very little chance that he is going to get killed by somebody because he is choosing the battlefield and the conditions. On top of all the other advantages he has, which, again, if he's got terrible gear, he's not going to engage on a dude in max gear, right? So he's always going to have the gear advantage unless you deceive him in some way, right? And when you look at that, and then you add in the fact that there are mechanics that actively advantage the attacker. For example, Vedion, if you get frozen as the defender, you are now possibly tanking both his melee swings, his dogs, and his lightning. Whereas if I freeze you as the attacker, you will only have to deal with lightning. So there's a pretty severe advantage to the attacker in just the arena once the fight starts. And that's not including any damage I might have taken from Vedion before you even got there. It all amounts to a situation where the prospect of going into the wilderness to do PVM is effectively signing up to be prey. You optimistically can expect to escape to a teleport point and just waste your time and your resources, but you really can't expect to ever get the kill. And this is before we're even talking about skill. All things being equal, both middle of the bell curve, 50-50 PvPers, you are going to lose a majority of the time as the defender. So then we get into the culture. And I don't just mean how they behave, or how they talk, or the fact that they're just generally very machismo, they big guy, I'm a big guy, respect me. You get this kind of air of superiority from PvPers. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that they are, thanks to the low population of the wilderness, and partially because of their own actions, the wilderness is slim pickings when it comes to PvP. So what do? Is they just kill you on sight, right? If they want to wilderness PvP, they've been hopping for an hour, they really want to get a fight in, and they just don't care who you are, what you're doing. Your death is their amusement. That's like what they're here to do. And so to some extent I understand the kill on sight behavior. But the problem is that creates a caustic environment. Why would I go to the wilderness to do anything if the second a white dot shows up on my minimap, I'm teleblocked and frozen, right? What's the... there's no negotiation, there's no discussion, there's no, hey, like, I'm just trying to do a clue. In fact, I know PKers who proudly collect spades as a token of their incredible PvP talent. And it's really funny. It's like, that is hilarious. But were they worth it? Because you're never getting any PK content ever again. Right? Because every one of those spades represents a no vote on the next PK content. Let's pretend that the wilderness is a country. And PKers live in that country. If I were to visit your country, and the second I arrived, the millisecond I stepped off the plane, I got stabbed, robbed, and all my stuff taken, right? And then I went into the town, Ferrex Enclave, and I was like, dude, I just got robbed. And everybody was like, yeah, duh, welcome to the wilderness, get good. Do you think I'd ever go back there? No, of course not. Why would anyone ever go there? It's a horrible place. And that's fine if you want your country to be a caustic nightmare that no one wants to visit. But don't be surprised when no one visits. It's not rocket surgery. So, sitting atop your throne of spades, you should not be surprised that the Romans aren't voting to give things to the barbarians. It's not hard. So, it would be nice to talk to somebody who is both reasonable and respected in the PK community. Because when I talk to regular PKers, they have this very much woe to the vanquished, get good, come out here and let me rob you, kind of, because you're a peasant and I'm better than you. And it's not productive, and they're, the mere concept of sacrificing literally anything, PK-wise, mechanics-wise, is a terrible, it's just not on the table. There's no negotiation. The only direction PKing can go is more advantages for them. And so there's no compromise and there's no discussion. So they're just going to keep losing polls. I'd like to talk to somebody who has some influence and is reasonable, because there is a compromise here somewhere. I think the compromise is to not lose all your items on death, but only lose the items in your bag. Because that way you could gear up and go do content. You could do content efficiently. I might lower the price of some items for PvPers, by the way. Sounds good, right? And it also means that if I'm doing Vedion, or if I'm doing whatever, Spindle, and you jump in on me, even if I don't bring a switch, you are risking something. Because a dude with a Bofa and full crystal armor is gonna hurt whether you're switching or not. He has a chance of taking you out, so now you actually are risking something. But at the same time, you could also bring better gear. So it kind of just elevates PvP and lets cooler stuff happen in the wilderness. Obviously, I think as a PVMer, I would rather it be only lose the things in my looting bag, but that's self-interested PVM thought process. I think that obviously a PKer would want you to lose everything in your inventory as well. And with the fact that they'd be making less money, they would also be risking less money, so I think it would all wash out. Now, no one's ever going to see this. I get no views and no viewers. But if you are an angry PVMer who's convinced that the only reason I don't want you to steal my shit is because I'm bad at the game, please let me know. I'd love my 5th or 6th YouTube comment to be someone telling me that I need to get good scrub.